another episode of Lunch Breaks with John. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than some of our previous ones. It's going to be a special episode that I'm going to try to start doing about once a month, at least for the next several months. And it's going to be all about different TV streaming services. If you're like me, as you've probably guessed by now, I like to take my lunch breaks in my car. And one of my favorite things to do if I'm just bored or I don't have anything else to do on my lunch break, I'll kick back and watch a TV show, whether it be on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, things like that, Disney Plus, whatever your favorite streaming service is. Lunch breaks are a good time to watch, sometimes just a 30-minute show, or sometimes maybe 45 minutes if you're taking an hour lunch like I do sometimes. So anyway, I want to take, on each of these episodes, I want to try to do one episode dedicated to each streaming service platform. Today we're going to focus on HBO Max. Before I get into that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my life, the weekend, what's been going on and everything like I do sometimes. My wife and I traveled up to Indiana this past weekend. We took Friday off, so we had a little bit extra time to drive up there because we were going to one of her friends' weddings. It was a good wedding, and then we also got to try some different cool restaurants while we were out there. Got to see the Great Lakes for the first time. Well, one of the Great Lakes. I think it's Lake Michigan. I got to try authentic Chicago-style deep dish pizza for the first time, which was really good. It was at, I think, Giordano's was the name of the restaurant. Then we also tried this place called Athenian Greek Cuisine, and that was really cool too. Had some of the best kebabs I've ever had before with filet mignon, so that was really good. And then just traveled back on Sunday. I got to see some of my family that lives in Southern Illinois. It was good to see them again, and I got stocked up on Mr. Pibb or Pibb Extra, since they don't have that where I live, so I bought some of that so I can enjoy that for a little while at least. But now we're back to everyday life. This is actually my second time recording this episode. There were just a couple things that I didn't like about the first recording, so I decided to go ahead and redo it. Anyway, oh yeah, so another cool thing, and I may put some pictures of this whenever I post it, but in the mail I ordered an order of soap from Dr. Squatch. They're pretty much, I think, an online-based soap store. They sell all kinds of different like organic soap, I think primarily geared towards men. And the one I got was a Star Wars edition. It had 4 different bars of soap, and each of them was designed kind of after a different Star Wars character. There was a Obi-Wan soap, a Yoda one, Darth Vader, Darth Maul, things like that. And they're kind of colored after like their lightsaber colors or different things like that are attributed with them. But anyway, that was pretty cool, and I got to try it for the first time yesterday, so it was nice. It smells really good. But yeah, that's pretty much been my weekend and my week so far. So without further ado, let's get into this episode. This episode is going to be focused on the subscription service of HBO Max. So we're going to talk about some of my favorite TV shows and just different perks about HBO Max. And as I go through this list, it's not in any particular order of my favorite to least favorite or anything like that. It's just some shows and things that I enjoy. So let's get started. So number one on my list, and like I said, no particular order, but the first one I have on my list that I want to talk about is the show Big Bang Theory. It's a very well-known show. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of it, maybe even watched it. But I love the show because it's just a really funny show. It's a group of nerds, and I'm kind of a nerd myself, so I enjoy a lot of the the different things they talk about on there. Some of them are Star Wars fans, Lord of the Rings, things like that, superhero. They make a lot of different references to that kind of stuff. So I enjoy it. Plus, they're just hilarious. And then, not to mention the star of the show, Sheldon Cooper. He just makes that show so much more funny, played by Jim Parsons. He's a really good actor. I don't think they could have picked a better actor for that role. So if you haven't seen that and you're on HBO Max, definitely go watch that. Or even if you don't have HBO Max but you want to see that, I would definitely recommend it. The next thing on the list, number 2, another really good show to watch on HBO Max is Friends. That one doesn't really need much of an explanation or a description, because I think most everyone knows what that show is. Has a great cast of actors. One of the most memorable shows from the 90s and early 2000s. I actually didn't start watching this show until about 3 years ago when it was on Netflix. My wife and I started watching it. It took me a little while to really start liking that show, because my wife started watching it on season 1. She grew up watching it a little bit more than I'd never really seen it growing up. But on season 1, it was just it just seems really cheesy and a little bit outdated and stuff like that. But once you get into like the second and third season, the show really starts to shine, and it's just really good. So I definitely recommend that. The third one on my list that I want to talk about, if you just like to laugh and you're not really looking for anything that with a deep plot to follow or keeping up with a story or anything like that, HBO Max has a great show. I'm sure you guys have all heard of it. It's called Impractical Jokers. It's these 4 guys that go around New York City, and sometimes they go to other places. They go around town and they just do hilarious stuff. They go up to strangers and they'll do embarrassing things while the other guys are telling them what to do inside an earpiece, and it's just some of the funniest stuff ever. They also have some funny punishments on that show. During each of these episodes, they have challenges that they do. So they challenge each of they're called the Jokers, the 4 different guys. Each of the Jokers is challenged to do different things, embarrassing stuff, or just different kinds of pranks and stuff like that they're challenged to do in public and with strangers and stuff like that. And whoever loses the most challenges in a single episode has to go through a punishment that is usually decided by the other Jokers. So that's another really good show. I think you'll like it if you like a good laugh. Another show that's a little different than all the ones that I've just talked about. This isn't a comedy show at all. This one's an animated show. It's actually anime. And I've never watched anime growing up. And if you don't know what anime is, it is basically Japanese cartoons, Japanese animation. One of my best friends, he talked to me about this show and told me about it for years, saying that I would like this show, and I kind of just put it off watching it for a long time, but then finally decided to start watching it this year. The name of it is Death Note. Even if you don't like anime shows, like I'm kind of still new to those kind of shows. I don't really watch a whole lot of them. But even if you've not seen any of them really, or you're not really into it, I definitely recommend watching Death Note. It's about this guy. I think he starts out in high school or something, maybe right around the age of graduating high school. He finds this notebook that is left by what is called a Shinigami, or on the show the Shinigami are known as, I think, Angels of Death. They have these notebooks that are called a Death Note, and whenever a human picks it up and finds it, they become the owner of the Death Note. They can write down anyone's name, and then it has a bunch of different instructions and rules on how to use the book. But basically, if they write down that person's name, and they picture in their mind, they know what they look like, then that person is killed. By default, they die of a heart attack unless the writer in the Death Note writes down the way that person is supposed to die. Then as long as it's in the realm of possibility, that's not something that would be impossible to happen, then they'll die of whatever cause that person writes down. So that's a really interesting show. I really like it mainly there's one of the characters on there named L. He is a world-renowned investigator. His identity is unknown, but he goes by L, and he helps the Japanese police force to try to find this character. The main character, his name is Light Yagami, and then whenever they find out about this person who's killing all these different people and they're trying to figure out what's going on, they call him Kira, which means killer in Japanese. So that's another really good show I recommend watching. Another show that's just a good wholesome family show. Well, I'd say it's pretty decent for most families to watch. Maybe not for the super young kids, but The Middle is a really good show. I haven't really got that far into the show. I think I'm still into maybe the first season or possibly the second, but my wife and I have been watching it. We really enjoy it. It's got a lot of it's just a good funny show. Another one, I think I skipped over this one earlier. This will be the sixth one on my list, is Young Sheldon. And basically what Young Sheldon is, it's kind of like a prequel to the Big Bang Theory show, and it focuses on the life of Sheldon Cooper as he's a young boy in middle school or something like that. I think he's, well, probably earlier than that. He's in elementary going into middle school. But it's a really funny show. Again, really good cast in there. And even though Jim Parsons is not Sheldon in there, since it's a young boy that's playing Sheldon, Jim Parsons does narrate the show, which makes it even more entertaining, because he kind of narrates the thoughts of what Sheldon is thinking while this stuff is going on. So that makes it a really good show. I didn't really have any other, obviously there's definitely more good TV shows on HBO Max that you can watch. I didn't really go into a lot of detail. There's some other perks that comes with HBO Max that I would recommend getting it for. If you like some of these big name blockbuster movies, especially like ones by Warner Brothers, a lot of those come out on HBO Max the same day as they're out in theaters. I think for like the first 10 days that it's in theaters, HBO Max subscribers have that perk of being able to see those movies on TV without having to go to the theater. So that's pretty cool. Some of those movies that I've watched on there would include Wonder Woman 84. That one was pretty good. Then there's also Mortal Kombat, that new one that came out. That one was good. Godzilla vs. Kong. Space Jam, I just watched that recently, the new one with LeBron James. And I think I might even have the old one on there as well. But you should definitely, that's definitely a benefit of having HBO Max. And then one movie that I'm really looking forward to, that'll be on there soon. Well, actually, it's probably going to be a few more months, but the movie Dune looks like it's going to be really good. I actually may go watch that in theaters. I don't know, just because it looks like a really good movie. It's based off of, I think, a sci-fi novel from a few decades ago, and they even made a movie based off of it, I think, back in the 80s or 90s. But that movie that's coming out, Dune, it looks really good. So I look forward to watching that, and you should be able to watch it on HBO Max once it comes out in theaters as well. But anyway, that pretty much sums up this episode. We're going to be covering some of these other streaming services in future episodes. Let me know which one you would like to do next. The other streaming services I currently have are Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and I think Paramount Plus. And I don't own all of those. I'm not going to spend my money on all of that, but I share accounts with some other people on some of those. So let me know which one of those you would like to see the next time we do this, which will probably be a month from now. And I look forward to doing that. And again, thank you for watching. And if you haven't subscribed already to this channel, I would appreciate if you did that and encourage you to. That way we can continue to grow and maybe make this a more frequent thing. Like I said, starting out, this is going to be just a once a week thing for now. But if I can grow my subscriber base, I would like to maybe start doing this at least 2 to 3 times a week. We'll just kind of see how it goes. But yeah, be sure to like and subscribe. That will definitely help me out, and I'd greatly appreciate it. Until next time, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Hope you enjoy your lunch if you're on your lunch break. And we'll catch you next time on Lunch Breaks with John.